Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about the ongoing Indian atrocities in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Today there were a couple of important statements which came from the Foreign Office through their Foreign Office spokesperson. What he said, we'll just tell you, and then we'll be focusing our show on these particular issues. It says, let me reiterate that there is no change in Pakistan's principled position on the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. Jammu and Kashmir is an internationally recognized dispute, says the spokesperson of the Foreign Office. He further adds that Jammu and Kashmir dispute needs to be resolved in accordance with the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions that call for a free and impartial plebiscite under the UN auspices. Spokesperson further states that Pakistan has never shied away from talks and has always called for peaceful resolution of all the outstanding disputes, including the internationally recognized dispute of Jammu and Kashmir. And he also says that we have been repeatedly saying that India is using every possible tool of oppression and violating every single human right of the Kashmiri people to break their will. However, no amount of Indian brutalization has been able to subjugate the Kashmiris. Now, primarily, there were a couple of stories which started off from the Indian media that maybe Pakistan is taking sort of a different stance on Kashmir now. We have always stood by Kashmiri brothers and sisters. Our stance on Kashmir is very clear. We want that the United Nations resolutions should at the end of the day prevail. There should be control regarding the human rights violations, which are a matter of almost daily basis. You talk about the ongoing atrocities by the Indian forces, and the current number seems to be around 900,000 to 1 million. The most highly, when you talk about the military density to any state, any place, it's 1 to 10. Just imagine. For every 10 Kashmiris, there is a soldier. And that could be just a family. Just imagine that is the kind of torture they're going through. You talk about the freedom of speech, it doesn't exist at all. You talk about a statement issued by any Kashmiri regarding their indigenous homegrown movement of separation, or at least raising their voice regarding the Indian brutalities. You would never know about the fate of that person. Either that person is going to get killed or going to get picked up by the Indian forces, would be brutally tortured to death, or he is going to go missing. This is exactly the status later. So this is exactly what is happening. You talk about the Kashmiri leadership, everyone is either under house arrest or is suffering in Tihar jail. This is what the reality is. So to talk about this, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us, on my right is Altaf Hussain Wani Saab, known Kashmiri leader. Needs no introduction, sir. Thank you very much for your time, Wani bhai. And we have with us Dr. Amna Mahmood Saiba. She's an expert on foreign affairs and international relations. Thank you so much, Dr. Saiba, for your time. And we have with us Mia Sanola Saab, former ambassador, senior diplomat. Mia Saab is joining us on Skype. Sir, thank you very much for your time as well. Altaf Wani Saab, do we have to reiterate what our stance is? Don't you think that it's been 72 years, Pakistan has stood by our Kashmiri brothers and sisters? Yes, maybe a few decisions could have gone wrong, but generally speaking, whether you talk about Pakistan People's Party or PMLN or Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or any other religious group for that matter, everyone is on the same page when it comes to Kashmir. Your take, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Faisal. Basically, this today's press briefing from Foreign Office came after a controversy over a tweet by Kashmir Parliamentary Committee Chairman and thereby
Shahryar Afridi.
Shahryar Afridi Sahab. Actually, he had not said anything like that, which was portrayed in the press. And then that tweet was in a way referred to Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, the veteran Kashmiri leader, who had raised some questions on the recent ceasefire agreement between India and Pakistan. But the history goes that Pakistan has and is always with the people of Kashmir, and government of Pakistan is supporting the cause of Kashmir. That's what the Foreign Office spokesperson said. And the ceasefire agreement which the two DGMOs signed in a way is a very positive gesture, in a way that people on the line of control or working boundary, they are suffering too much because of this fire going on. Lots of
So just in
displacement.
2020, there
Just
were around
29 people
100 and something, maybe 30 or something, ceasefire violations in 1 year.
Yeah.
33 people
So
died,
there were
276 were injured.
lots of displacement also, schools, hospitals, and also the environment, and all these disturbances happen on line of control, and this will give a respite to the people living on the both sides of the line of control. It's in a way also a positive that you see when Indians fire, they fire on the people of Kashmir on Azad Kashmir side, and Pakistani forces, when they retaliate, they have to see the Indian posts where they are. When they retaliate more heavily, then also we have the casualty of Kashmiris on the other side also. So this is a good gesture. But having said that, the situation in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where this people raise some questions, is that when this all started after August 5th, and the government of Pakistan, the leadership of Pakistan, everybody said that the talks with India will resume only when the government of India will reverse all its decisions which she has taken after August 4th, and only then we can talk with the Indian government on these issues. And also we have to see the way Indian mechanization is going on in Indian occupied Kashmir, not talking of the human rights violations which are going on since last 32 years, 33 years, they are ongoing, and we have thousands of people who have lost their lives,
That's correct.
and thousands who have been enforced to disappear, and all kinds of human rights violations. But the mechanization which is happening from last 2 years, that's a very serious
Regarding
question,
the demographic changes?
changing the demography of Kashmir, and the cultural assault, and all other things which they are going to do, and what they are
one
doing.
quick comment, because our viewers also, and plus we would also like to know, because once up, you have lived there for such a long time, and I'm sure you have a lot of friends and you're in touch with them, you talk to them. Can you just paint a picture like the kind of Kashmir you left and the kind of Kashmir they are living in? What sort of general changes they observe now? Is it the number of troops that has increased, or the culture has changed, or the Hindu dominance could be seen?
You see, first of all, we see after 89 onwards, the rise in the increase in the number of troops in Kashmir. When in 90s there were only 150,000 troops in Kashmir, and now we count it's over
a million almost.
a
A lot of
million
people say
troops
it's
in
around a
Kashmir.
million.
Along with that, they have armed also the village defense committees, task force, and all those people. They have armored them, and they're also for the same purpose for which the army or police is. That's one thing. The other thing is the cultural aggression, the Hindutva mindset. If you see now, each and every post in Kashmir, the executive post is assumed by the Indians, that's occupied by the Indians. They are there to dictate the terms. They are there at each and every executive post.
What about the public offices?
Public officers, I'm talking of public officers, they are being assumed by the Indians. You have the CS officers from India who have taken.
They're not from Kashmir.
They are not Kashmiri.
And this happened during the last 1.5 years.
It has happened more
Post
and more.
August 5th.
Post August 5th. So each and every decision is taken by Delhi. So your local, whatever the authority was there, the puppets, even those were there, but there was some people of Kashmir who were visible on the administrative posts, who were visible somewhere, but there is no one now visible there.
They're a part of
Everything
history.
is guarded by the Indians. So this is the change in Kashmir. Each and every walk of life is totally changed. You cannot see the Kashmir of which was talked about the heaven on earth.
Yeah.
Now it is really hell on earth. Nobody can talk of their rights. You can see in the press in Kashmir. It's so simple. If you will go to the Kashmiri press post August 5th and pre-August 5th, you will see a lots of difference how they have occupied the spaces.
Yeah, very well said, ma'am. Now, you can understand what's going on, what exactly is brewing in their mind. All they are doing is they're buying time. They've bought a lot of time. But I think now they have realized that what fifth generation warfare is all about. How can you manipulate the media? And that's why we call it the gaudy media, because this is exactly what is happening out there. They would only print those stories which suit the BHP government. And now the influence seems to be moving north. Your take, ma'am?
Yes, and before that I would like to add what Manisa was saying. previously for government offices and especially the public offices, they were relying on their puppets, on their surrogate, leaders. But from Mehbooba Mufti onwards, they since she was having government in alliance with BJP, but when she was removed, that was the last nail in the coffin, and they were not going to trust only on any Kashmiri, even the descendant of the traitor, so-called to Kashmiri nations.
But she was the one who offered 8 important ministries to the BJP government also, ma'am, when she was the one, holding the reins.
But she was
PDP, People's Democratic Party, primarily, once her father was there, had a lot of value. But don't you think that has been eroded over a period of time?
Yes, of course, and I think that this is the 4th generation of these loyal, so-called Indian loyals, but they have seen that despite all loyalties, they could not earn anything for themselves and even for the loyal Indian loyal Kashmiris. So why not they should be
The Abdullah
Kashmiri
family is
loyals?
right in front of you in that regard.
and right now they are all under state custody. So it is now impossible for any Kashmiri to think in terms of Indian loyalty, because that is not paying to any Kashmiri, and that's why they are replacing all the public offices and all the government offices with the Indians, particularly Indians, and Indians from especially the South India, because northern Indian side, that is having more sympathies to Kashmiris, as we see that northern side of India, that is in fact our Punjab, adjacent Punjab, Indian Punjab, and they were facing the same kind of treatment at the hands of Indian government. And they are trying to affiliate or nominate anyone who is a bit social activist with the movement of Khalistan. It is not actually the revival of Khalistan movement, but Indian government, as they are raising the point and making the point of Khalistan, that linking every resistance in the form of even the farmer movement, they are relating it to Khalistan. So I think that it would be the rise of Khalistan movement again as
They're
a
provoking
reaction.
them actually.
They are.
If anything happens, they end up blaming Pakistan. Even for, this was your decision. You took a wrong decision. And then at the end of the day, when your own farmers are out, and they're not only from Punjab or Haryana, ma'am, they have come from Rajasthan. They are
Exactly.
protesting in the south, in the east, you name it, and they're there. UP even.
Faisal, I was listening some of the analysis by an Indian economist. He said that it is hard to control a rural population, because rural population is having some kind of self-dependency. They are grain growers.
And they're sleeping under their trolleys. They have got plenty of food.
Yeah, exactly.
They have
And
got stoves to cook.
They
and
are
they say, we'll
confident.
stay there.
They
Yeah,
are
the number has
confident.
decreased, but the will hasn't.
And they are having less stakes as compared to the workers working in cities. They can be out of job, they can be thrown out of, they can be treated like anything. So they want to reduce the population of agricultural dependent people in villages to curtail all the movements, separation movements in the whole India.
Now, that's a very interesting point, ma'am.
analysis, yes.
Now coming to you, Ambassador Saab, when the changes were going on in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we used to do a lot of shows even then, and we would talk about the demographic changes. We would talk about that so many, resident certificates have been issued to people. So many people have been granted a certain size of land, perhaps. The government has taken over because the Kashmiri rights, they do not exist anymore. Then we also learned that the BJP government really wants to have a very high-tech educational setup out there. A lot of universities from foreign brands, they would come and operate. Tourism is going to be at its peak, and a lot of development is going on in that part. A lot of money has been invested by corporate sector. Then you talk about development, and also on top we learned that the industrial zones would be set up there, and eventually that is how the Indians are going to take over the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, sir, let's talk about it. What's going on and what their proposed ideas are. Do you think there could be a mix and match, sir, or that is just a dream which is never going to come true?
It all depends on the Indian government actually by the special status, autonomy status of Kashmir unilaterally. They came up with something which was not acceptable internationally, which went against the UN resolutions. Now, if they have made it a part of a union territory and they want to use Indian budget, Indian money, Indian funds to do all these moderate or mega projects, it is entirely up to them. But one thing is very clear, that nothing succeed, no mega project succeed unless there is public support. And the people of Kashmir, occupied Kashmir, are not with the Indians. They are unhappy, including, as stated earlier by my other friends, those who always sided with the Indian and sought the solution of Kashmir dispute within the framework of Indian constitution. Even these people are disappointed, and even they question the Indian plans, Indian designs, Indian vision. So it is so far we really don't know what progress, what development they have done. The people are having problems. Imagine they have no access, free access. They are incarcerated on smallest pretext. And there is complete boycott on the 26th January, a black day for on Independence Day. So far nothing has happened with regard to the promises and the project. Issue is that India, as it claims to be democratic, as it claims to be liberal, secular, that kind of things, then it should give space and increase the comfort zone for the people. It looks they are just land grabbers, and they are treating the Kashmir as a territory, not a territory populated by human beings.
Aspect, sir. Since there was a story by the Indians that maybe Pakistan has moved away or shied away from its stance, I just want to ask you if you could throw light on this aspect. The Prime Minister was in Kashmir a week ago, in Sri Lanka, sorry, I beg your pardon. Prime Minister Imran Khan was in Sri Lanka, and where he met the President, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, and he really concentrated on one area, and he said the only issue, the major issue between Pakistan and India is Kashmir. So, and he spoke about Kashmir, he did tell them about what's going on out there. So primarily the agenda remains there, sir.
The agenda is intact, but as the joint statement talks about the core issues, and but Kashmir, word Kashmir is not there. Now at DG MOs do not usually talk about core issues. So it has created some kind of misunderstanding, and we have received a statement from Gilani Sahab raising some critical questions. But Pakistan has to be very cautious, has to be very alert and vigilant, not to, whenever they speak about core issues, the mention of Kashmir should have been there. It is there must be some design, and since it was a technical level, so they might have put it a bit aside. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, our stand on Kashmir has been consistent, and it remains on the table.
Talking about the investments that are going on, a lot of Jews from Israel, they have also shown their interest, along with the corporate sector, which includes the Ambanis primarily, sir. And even this issue of the farmers is also related in one way or the other with the Ambanis, because they have supported BJP government not once, rather twice, to be in place where they are. And then, you know, obviously the corporate sector needs something in return. If they've invested so much to make you the prime minister, why shouldn't they, you know, get the return back? The rate of return, I mean, that's what they call that in finance. So over here, sir, the corporate sector is really, really, moving fast and ahead. And it seems that whether it's the issue regarding the transport, they are looking into it, whether it's about some sort of agriculture that's been handed over to the corporate sector. So it seems that at some stage, I'm not going to be so sure about how long will it take, but at some stage it seems that the Kashmiris who are already marginalized will further get marginalized, sir. No jobs for them. Obviously, if there is a Hindu sitting as a CEO and he has been assigned a task that you need to get people from Delhi, from Calcutta even, from the Tamil side, but nobody, and especially the Muslims of Kashmir, should not be given. So it's my right. Nobody can challenge me there.
You're right.
I mean, this is one aspect of the demographic change.
See, whatever the steps the Indian government has taken is to make Kashmiris landless, jobless.
At the end of the day, yes, sir.
These are the three main things, and then to make them under subjugation, and so that they can give up their struggle for rights.
Exactly what's been going on in Palestine.
That's what Indians are trying to do. But having said that, from last 2 years, we have seen many times in the newspapers, other things, that corporate sector is coming to Kashmir, they are holding this conclave and that conclave, but that never happened. Because the situation in Kashmir is not that conducive for them.
Is it because of the Kashmiri
yes,
resistance?
it's just Kashmiri resistance.
Okay.
It's because the situation in Kashmir is not that conducive for anyone. You see, the government can say to people, you come and invest, but the investor has to see whether my investment is safe or not. Exactly. The people have seen that the investment in Kashmir is not safe. I have been telling to the people that Indian investor would not come to Kashmir Valley, would not go to the far-flung areas. If they will come to the Jammu. And now we have seen in the Jammu region also the voices from the Dogras, who actually celebrated when the Article 370 and
was abrogated,
35A was abrogated. They celebrated at that time. But now they are agitating at that because their space is being choked economically. They are going to at loss at that time. Kashmiris are putting a tough resistance against all these things which Indian government is planning to do in Kashmir. Be that they are going to have some corporate sectors and building educational valleys and health valleys and all that institutions, but that's not going to happen until and unless the people of Kashmir allow that. The people of Kashmir are not allowing that. That is why the Indian government is under pressure from within. That's under pressure within from those circles who celebrated at that time when the Article 35 and 370 was abrogated, that the Kashmiri Pandits will be brought to the Kashmir, they will be given the home, and they will have all the luxuries in Kashmir. And also the people of Jammu, who at that time celebrated that we will have this, and India sold it to the international world that we are going to change the whole scene of Kashmir by providing them more opportunity of jobs, more opportunities in IT sector and all that, so that their economic condition will well off and they will be at par in the development with the other Indian states. But if you see, the index in India says that Kashmiris are more well off than the other Indian states. There's the states ruled by the BJP, the Bihar, the UP, the Rajasthan and other states. Our index is very high, even being under subjugation for last 73 years. So this mantra has not been taken by the people of Kashmir. People of Kashmir are putting a tough resistance against all these actions of Indian government, though they have silenced the people through the barrel of gun, putting the restrictions on their movement, putting the restrictions on free assembly. They could not allow the people. Today there was, after I think it was from last 5th August, even before that, first Jummah prayers were held in the Jamia Mosque Srinagar, and it was expected that Mirwais Umar Farooq will come and address that. And you could see the scenes. I wish if the TV had those scenes, what the slogans.
Since there is a complete blackout, sir, how would we know? That's the thing.
The people chanted those slogans there, how they raised the high-pitched slogans that we want Pakistan, we want freedom, we don't accept the Indian hegemony and all that. So that is the reaction. When you allow the people of Kashmir to gather anywhere, they will show their reaction. That Indians know. That is why sometimes Indians, what they do, they carry on the foreign envoys on a trip to Kashmir to show them normalcy.
That's what happened about 2-3 weeks ago.
They are trying to sell
they took
the so-called
about 2 dozen
facade of normalcy in Kashmir, but which is not being taken by neither by the international media nor by any other.
You know, if you're taking a delegation and you're showing them the places of your own choice,
yeah.
So what would they learn and what would they know? Because they all write a weekly report back to their foreign offices in their respective countries, and this would be or this would have been surely a great story for them. But I'm still unsure what exactly have they written in it, because if I'm going to show you and I'm going to make sure that you only meet those people who are going to follow my instructions, then you'll get a very different feedback. This is exactly what has happened out there. Let them go freely. Let them travel. They will get to know what exactly is going on when they'll be stopped by the military forces, by the troops out there. They'll be subjected to torture. Maybe not torture, but at least they would get to know what exactly is going on. Now, ma'am, the question regarding the future talks between the two countries, because at the end of the day, ma'am, both the countries, they've learned that war is not an option. If war was an option, we would have had it on the 20th or 29th of February, to be very honest. They didn't dare. They know exactly what the consequences would be, and we all know, and then the world knows. Simple as that. But ma'am, the only way forward at the end of the day, whether you talk about the First World War or the Second World War or even any conflict, you need to sit and talk. Even the North Koreans and the South Koreans, they talk. Yeah. And how hostile that room is, how hostile the environment is. Over here, ma'am, the DGMOs, they exchanged now. They've started sort of consulting, I would say, one another on the hotline. But ma'am, do you think they could pave way, or there could be a future where we could see Narendra Modi and Imran Khan sitting and talking? Because most likely Narendra Modi could visit Pakistan if SAARC summit is held. Ma'am,
I think that would be a positive scenario, but we are not sure about it, because whenever there is SAARC conference in Pakistan, India has been delaying it.
It's been 6 years if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And it happened in Kathmandu when Prime President of Pakistan at that time, he just extended his hand and there was no way to deny that. But after that there was lull. You have seen very
that
successful.
Was the famous shake hand of
General
Musharraf and Vajpayee Saab.
Vajpayee Saab. And Vajpayee Saab, at least in posture, was quite different from Mr. Modi, who is overtly very hostile towards Pakistan. And we have seen very successful dialogue when General Musharraf travelled to India, and there was possibility of some joint statement, but it could not come because there are a number of distracting factors in India. Mr. Modi,
Advani Saab played a very negative role in that.
That was apparent. But there were a number of underlying officers,
the bureaucracy
and
of
bureaucracy having a certain mindset, and military.
They had agreed on everything. The actual issue was about the points and the commas and the words.
Yeah,
for that joint statement.
That changed the meaning of that statement. That the placement of commas and full stops and colons can change the nature and meanings of the statement.
Exactly,
and these diplomats, these bureaucrats are very much equipped with that skill. That's why they were not ready. We can hope for the best, but that is not visible in near future, because when we will be heading towards that, there would be possibility of next elections in India, and Modi has to play the same card, that is anti-Pakistan card. And
Madam, he won once, he won again, and with a huge margin, And but look at the number of people who voted for him. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
I think that it would be almost the same, maybe if not augmented, it would be the same, because he has a direct appeal to the extremist faction in India, and he is successfully selling that narrative. Except to a small minority, maybe 25% or 40%, and India right now is not in that scenario to have an appeal from secular factions, though opposition parties are doing, and Arundhati Roy, etc., such intellectuals are there, but they are not having direct appeal to
I mean,
people.
those secular sections, I don't think they're going to be there maybe after another 10, 15 years if the same trend continues.
Because you know you have seen the abduction, you have
That's
seen the
exactly what my
murders,
point is.
and you have seen even the murder of sitting government officials. You have seen the
Madam,
just
murders of the known actors.
known actors. And we have just explored India, an Indian lady, that Miss Goswami, she was involved in narcotics trade.
Oh, yes.
And in return, the DIG serving, he was assassinated because he just kept exposed that plan. And you know, that is another revealing of the fact that Indian RSS is involved in narcotics trade from Afghanistan, and they are
And
using,
I'm sure,
and
I'm sure
they are using this money to
destabilize Pakistan.
to destabilize Pakistan,
sponsor
and
terrorism,
all,
yes,
all the neighboring countries of India, not only Pakistan, Sri Lanka.
That's the drug money.
Yeah,
the
just
same formula the American used in 80s in Latin America.
Exactly.
They would get the money out and would end up
And
arranging the
there would be no
coups.
accountability, no record of that money, and that would be
That's what black
why,
money is all about, ma'am.
that's why BJP government is hiding, and they are saying that 100 gram cocaine is explored, only found that it was not 100 grams, it was multiple 100 kilograms. So you can see the planning, the level of planning, and by the way, this was only not having motives for earning money. It was actually to provide these cocaine to the youth of the areas where their people are asking for freedom, where people are asking for separation. Because youth is the ultimate.
Well, cocaine
friend.
would have done the other way around, ma'am.
But,
It's a very
but
different drug.
As you see that all this, as Vani Sab said, as Ambassador Sab said, all Modi's policies are having a counter product. But at the same time, extremist faction is getting very hopeful out of these policies, and there would be another vote for BJP in the next election. That is visible from this state of affair.
Well, let's see, ma'am. Let's hope no.
No.
No is the answer. But sir, coming to you now, the international factor. Mr. Joe Biden is in place, sir. Seems to be a person who knows a lot about the global politics, and in particular, our area, talking about the South Asian region. Now, sir, this man is there, and looking at the kind of experience he has, sir, I'm sure he's going to take some decisions which will be much better than those which were earlier taken by Trump. I mean, this is what a lot of people believe in. Do you see Pakistan and India coming closer, sir, or you think the separation is going to get further because of this Quad and Pakistan and China relationship, the CPAC, and the sort of inclination Pakistan has towards the Asian giants, I would say, China and Russia in particular?
Basically, you will see the difference between the previous US administration and Joe Biden. You are right that he knows the area very well, and he knows our leadership very well, and our country as well. But it is not going to make a significant change because the issues, as stated in Sri Lanka by our Honorable Prime Minister, is basically Kashmir, which divides both India and Pakistan, which is the core point for hostility. If we remove it, there is a possibility, remove and resolve this issue, then there is a real possibility of making deeper movement towards collaborative coexistence. It could be short of friendship, it could be short of a strategic, but a livable position. Now, this ceasefire is a small baby step. It is very important. That's why it has been welcomed across all the sections with little misunderstanding here and there. But could it lead to significant change or dialogue or I would say discussions or restorations of a normal relationship? I have my doubts, because for that you have to change the mindset. And so far, I haven't seen that India has come in good faith. It is not a zero-sum game. Diplomacy is not a zero-sum game. If it has to be zero-sum game, then there is not peaceful coexistence. And this kind of good, positive baby steps cannot be very lasting. So if something has to be, I'm not putting some preconditions, but unless both the sides decide intentionally with some commitment to create conducive environment, I don't see even US, if they want to, they can impact on it. And you have spoken about China and our relationship with China and its impact on our subsequent relationship with India. I think this is all mixed. There are too many conditions which get entangled, twinned with this dispute. Don't forget, China is not only our big sport, but China is also become party of this entire dispute, because India has not been able to resolve its own border with China, and it has unfortunately blamed China for taking advantage of Pakistan's China borders and retaining some territory from Kashmir. And I would say America is important. America has got big fist, but America is not the one who is going to deliver or going to be crucial in terms of promoting understanding between our two countries. They can provide a nudge, not more than that.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your comments. Waris, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presence as well. And that's all we have for this week. I'll see you, inshallah, next week on Monday at 8. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.